I'm bracing myself.
Bing bing bam dum dum bam 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 bam.
What's going on?
So this is what's called a billboard in the public radio business, and we do one every day. It's this? Is it really? So what you need to know is that every day when I do this billboard, it comes right before the news, I don't know what the music's going to be because the maestro, Dylan Reyes, picks things out with the goal of disorienting me or maybe getting me inspired. Sometimes I actually tried to speak along with the beat, if I can pick it up really quickly. So this is the kind of thing we'll be talking about today, is how we use music on this show. As part of our 15th anniversary celebration, we're going to tell you how we pick the songs we play. That is very evil.
Crazy. Bam bam.
Sammy and Billy would meet in Chinatown. A short train ride, but 1,000,000 miles from their worlds of ups and downs. For one day each week in a one-room flat, they lived in a different time. A room with no past, no future, where the two can't leave it all behind. They danced the slow.
So this is a song called Tuesdays in Chinatown. You hear Andy Bay singing. We used that song to open an episode we did about secrets. And I picked most of the music for the Colin McEnroe show. Not all of it, but quite a bit of it. And for this one, it was pretty easy because this is a song about two people who have a very secret relationship that takes place only on Tuesdays in Chinatown. And it's such an arresting kind of song, and Andy Bay's voice is so wonderful. I discovered him years and years and years ago. I heard him singing on, I think, a Horace Silver album, and I said, who is that? He sings the way I want people to sing. So it was really easy. I didn't have to research. I knew I wanted to open the show with that song. And we're going to talk about that kind of thing today. It's part of the 15th anniversary of the Colin McEnroe show. We thought we'd spend a little time just telling you how we curate music here. And here to help by asking me pointed questions is my very good friend, one of my bosses, and also one of my favorite people to spend time with on the air, Robyn Doyon-Aitken.
Colin. Thanks.
And, well, you know. And so, yeah, we thought it would be better for you to ask me questions than for me to babble for 49 minutes. So Go ahead.
Well, I think listeners probably, anyone who's listened to the show over the years knows how important music is to you. And so I'm curious about this, so I think other people might be. Like, how do you pick the music for the different episodes?
Yeah, so there's kind of two categories now. One of them is our weekly Ask or Tell Me Anything episodes, where all of the music, it doesn't have to fit a theme at all. It does, and so what I typically do now is I listen to, I don't know, maybe 50 or 60 songs that have come out within the last 3 weeks, and try to find some ones that I like. And it's increasingly important, not only that I like them, but that our somewhat relatively new technical producer, Dylan Reyes, who's as big a music nerd as me, if not more, that he'll like them too. That's always a good feeling. So that's one group. But most of the other shows, we spend a lot of time thinking, and I spend a lot of time thinking about how to pick songs that match the theme of the show. And I try to pull from about 100 years of music from basically 1925 to the present. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's kind of how we do it.
Amazing. So a lot of times, I'll know if I'm looking for music for a certain show, I'll know in like 2 seconds. Like I'll just hear the first couple of notes and I know already like, yes, that would be great open music, or maybe there's an instrumental part of the song and I'm like, oh, I'm going to plug that in over here to be a close. Like, how do you think about sort of where music goes once you know, like, yeah, this is the song for that episode?
Yeah, so the song that opens the show is really important, and it's important because it's going to talk to me too. But it's also important in terms of setting the tone for the audience, and we'll get into that a little bit more in the second segment. And I think also it often has a big impact on the guests too. If the guests don't know the show and they suddenly hear some really unusual song playing, they often think, wow, these people took some time to think about what kind of music would go with the topic I'm here to talk about. And it sends a pretty good message to them as well. I'm not going to nerd out anymore. Never mind.
It's okay to nerd out. It's okay.
Yeah, no, we ultimately are using 5 songs per episode, typically something that opens the show, something that opens the second segment, something that closes the first and second segments, and then the end of the show song. And each of those things have slightly different roles, and what I need changes depending on where the song is going to be used.
Yeah. Do you have certain spoken or unspoken rules about songs, like where something works for a particular episode and you'll use it, and then maybe next month there's a show and you feel like is there we can't, it's like repeating outfits. Do you say no, that song was just for that show, but I don't want to use it again anywhere else?
I think it's almost kind of the opposite for me. I was going to get to this a little bit later, but for example, we're not going to play this particular song, but there's a song called I Need a Doctor by the Neils, which we started using because we were doing a lot of medical shows for a few years there during the pandemic. Betsy Kaplan was still the producer, and it's just the perfect song, and we've probably opened more shows with I Need a Doctor than any other show that we've repeated with. But there are certain shows, we'll talk in the second segment about a particular song that I fell in love with, and I'd be happy to use it a lot of the time. A great song is a great song. But I know what you're talking about too, and I, on the other hand, those are exceptions. We do want the music to be fresh and maybe a little bit eclectic, or maybe a lot eclectic.
Mm-hmm. Is there music that you're particularly drawn to, where I know, does this happen to you? Do you listen to music now, and is your first thought before your thought is oh, I like this, or I don't, or I'm noticing the bass in this or not? Are you thinking oh, could this work for a show?
Yeah, that will happen sometimes, and I don't want it to happen a lot because I love music so much, and I want to just be able to love it without constantly having to map it onto my work life. But yeah, that does happen sometimes. And the other thing that happens is somebody says, let's do such and such an episode. And I think, oh, I know what song I want. We've been talking right now about doing a show about pennies, which are once again facing obliteration. Mm-hmm. And obviously Pennies from Heaven. And I know I would probably use the version by a French singer named Émilie Claire Barlow. But there's also a great song called Pennies in a Jar that was written by this young songwriter, her name is Nikki Jean, and she, for her first big album, went around to really well-known older songwriters and collaborate. I don't know how she got them to do it. So it's a Bacharach tune called Pennies in a Jar with her lyric. So I'm dying to play that on the air. So there's that too. Sometimes when the idea is suggested right away, you go, oh, I know what song. We did a show about Robert Frost this week. There's a wonderful Karen Allen song called Robert Frost.
Amazing. And I feel like it's kind of a service to our listeners, because a lot of times when I hear music on the Colin McEnroe show, I really am hearing it for the first time. Mm-hmm. And it's in that context, it just sort of adds something to the music. So now I'm enjoying the music because it's just good music, but also now to have this association of the music being paired with some great radio, and it just adds a level of appreciation to it.
Yeah, that's really nice to hear, because it's one of the reactions that we do get emails from people saying, what was that song? I really like that. Or you played a cover version of Jackson Browne's Running on Empty. What is that cover version? And that always makes me happy that they're noticing that the music isn't just padding. It really is. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it feels like the most important choice I make all day.
Wow. I love knowing that. Sort of not unlike... I'm going to say this, and I want you to take it in the best possible way, is that a lot of times...
It's impossible to hurt my feelings.
Yeah. I'm a producer to my core, and so that is how I think. And as a producer, a lot of times, the Colin McEnroe show is doing something sort of opposite from the way that other producers might approach things or do things. And so when I am looking for music for a show, a lot of times I'm just going to like instrumentals. And I'm just trying to see like, okay, all I'm trying to do is match a tone really. Like if the show is more somber, I need a somber song. If it's really upbeat or happy, I need a happy song. But like, I'm really looking for those instrumentals. And for the Colin McEnroe show, often when the music comes on, I am really listening. And I know our listeners are too, but I'm really listening to hear like what the message is, like what are the lyrics. You wouldn't normally hear lyrics in a public radio show, but like I know for the Colin McEnroe show, that is actually important, and you are sending a message.
Yeah, public radio has always sort of had a weird, ambivalent relationship with all this stuff. So, I mean, you know, even before I came over here, I started all this, I should say, during my 16-year run on a different kind of radio station. But I brought it over here, and it was really Colin Wolfe and I who first developed this whole system together. She was the technical producer at the time. But what was it? But but I would listen to public radio, and there's like things they do. Like if they've got a little segment in All Things Considered about, I don't know, people disagreeing about something, they'll play Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald singing "Let's Call the Whole Thing Off." You say tomato, I say tomato. And they also very early on realized that They Might Be Giants. One of the problems with picking songs, topical songs, is so many songs are about I'm in love with you, or I'm breaking up with you, or you just hurt me, or you're really hot, or and They Might Be Giants does all these weird, nerdy songs. So I think a lot of people who have to do this, they looked around for They Might Be Giants or Talking Heads. Also write a lot of, very brainy, non-love song lyrics. For me, also, Jill Sobule, who's become a friend of the show. A lot of her songs are about, the thing that really sold me on her was a song called Heroes, that's about why all of our heroes constantly disappoint us. The people that we think are going to be great turn out to be drunk and depressed or angry or whatever. So yeah, I mean, to me, the words are really important.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Hey, Dylan.
Oh, yes, you jump in. Oh, there he is. Dylan Reyes, ladies and gentlemen.
My name is Dylan Reyes. I'm the technical producer. So it's actually my responsibility every day to actually, like, Colin picks the music, but I have to cut up the part that him and I can agree is important to the song. And I always try to keep, there's a Yip Harburg quote, which I'm going to paraphrase here, which is, music makes you feel feelings, words make you think thoughts, and songs make you feel thoughts. So a lot of the time, I'm trying to find a little bit of an instrumental, like you're talking about, like 5 to 10 seconds to pad under him while he's talking. And then we hit the verse that, through lyrical analysis or just kind of common sense, Colin and I both think is the important part of that song. And so there's a lot of, like in my previous work as a arranger for wedding bands and other types of music groups, that's a lot of what I'm thinking about is like, okay, what's the important part that I need to get here for this part to make sense? It's like I'm trying to connect the two.
Can I just say one thing about all that? So allegedly, he recently graduated from college. Okay, he begins with a Yip Harburg quote. Yip Harburg, just for people who don't know, was this legendary lyricist who mainly worked with Harold Arlen, but I think he wrote everything from the lyrics to "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" to "Brother, Can You Spare a Dime" is a Yip Harburg lyric. So, but it's not the kind of thing somebody from his generation should know anything about.
I know. We often say that Dylan is an old soul in like the best possible way. So yeah, I love that he's your partner in a lot of this.
So we should talk a little bit, just because we need to play them in this particular segment, about theme music, theme songs. So it might surprise a lot of people who are more recent joiners to the show to know that when we first went on the air, and for quite some time, we had a theme song. It's a song called by Prince, called "The Rest of My Life." The maestro will play a little bit of it right now.
Look now, but there's another rocky road, another heavy wow, another much too heavy load. Today I'm gonna face it, yeah, cause I'm sick of dealing any other way. Nobody said the race was fair, but I'm gonna keep running just the same. Today's the first day of the rest of my life. Don't look now, but here comes another.
All right, so... Well, actually, I'd love to hear your reactions to that.
That
you
is
jumped.
So cool. Yeah, well, that first note, it just wakes you right up. And I'm going to confess that in all of this time, I never knew that was a Prince song.
Yeah.
And hearing the lyrics is so different from the way I experienced it as the first minute of the Colin McEnroe show.
So there were two people who didn't like that song that were very important to me. One of them is Jim Chapdelaine, my longtime friend, who's a musician and everything. And, I mean, the fact that Chapdelaine hated it actually meant it probably was going to have to go at some point. The other person who probably doesn't like that song very much is Prince, or was Prince. It's on an album that he very saucily and intentionally, it's called The Vault. And he basically owed a label, I think it was Warner, one more album under his contract. He was trying to get out of there. So he just threw a lot of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
But when I heard it, actually I like a lot of the songs on The Vault. We're going to hear another one of them later. But I thought, I want to have that to open my show. So, so Jean Amatruda did an edit of it so that Kyone Wolf, who was the first voice you heard every day, she would talk over the instrumental break in the song. And I don't know, but there were like a lot of people who didn't like it. It couldn't stay forever.
It didn't sound to me like something Prince would do. So that explanation really makes sense to me, clears it right up. Because it sounds like something that you might have, like a kindergartner teacher might be like playing on the first day of school as the kids are walking in.
Right.
It's a bright day.
So I ultimately, and I shouldn't say this because there are people all over this building working on their theme music, and I mean, Where We Live just added a new theme song. I eventually decided that it was a bad idea, at least for me, to have a theme song, because I am very focused on the first thing you hear, And so if the first thing it's the same thing every day, that gets a little boring. But also, I want to be able to pick the first song in a way that fits what we're going to do that day. So that was sort of one of the reasons we eventually got rid of it. I will say there are exceptions to that rule. Joel Stein had a podcast, I think it was called The Story of the Week. It is no longer with us anymore. But Jonathan Coulter wrote a theme song to it that was so great that it was like I would sometimes just listen to the theme. No offense to Joel, but I would listen to the theme song and then just turn off the show. But it was so great. It just was funny and melodic and stuff, and I was the envy of anybody who ever wanted a theme song. But basically, I think you're just depriving yourself of a set of choices for the top of your show if you're going to have a theme song every day. Now, I should say there was one other song that was originally maybe sort of written as a theme song. It's now the way that we end our week. Almost every week, the last thing that you hear is this. It's by Grayson Hugh.
I want to tell you about a place where you can find a smile, place to hang your hat, if only for a while. When there ain't no cause for comfort and your heart is full of rain, sadness just won't leave you, and every day's the same. Let me tell you, when it's cold and gray outside and the streets are filled with snow, when the internet is down and your spirit's sinking low, when you're lonely and you got no place to go, I see you on the radio. Oh yeah, I see you on the radio. Down on Colin McEnroe. Oh Lord, I see you.
So that's the song Grayson Hugh wrote for us. I don't know. Your thoughts?
I love that song, Colin. I don't know if I'm in the majority or minority in that, but I do love it, and I would love for you to tell us a little about Grayson.
Okay, so I first got to know Grayson, this is so sad, in 1972. And so in 1972, I was in high school, Grayson was maybe in high school, maybe about to finish, I'm not sure. And he, I don't know, there were bands around town and stuff, and you'd go hear them. And he had a group, I think it was called Portrait Blue. And the first time I saw them, I went, this man is a genius. And he was like Steve Winwood or something. He was just like incredible. And I ran into him at coffee houses and stuff. And I don't think he had any idea who I was. But I mean, to me, he was like my favorite musician in 1972.
So more than 50 years ago.
So, and then we kind of got more in touch as grown-ups, and as a critic, I wrote about him. And he wound up getting a recording contract, put out a couple of songs that were hits, particularly in the kind of adult contemporary format. And we've always been in touch, and he knows how much I work. So the idea that Gracie Hugh was going to write a song for my show was just like really kind of a high school dream come true. And when we got this song, we just all were like you. We were frothing over it. We're just like, it's so great. And it's just the right attitude and stuff. But then we realized, because Grayson's a songwriter. He doesn't write theme songs. So he'd written a song that, that song takes quite a long time before you get to the hook, And it's hard to play that song at the top of the show. And so a couple of, I think Gene Amatruda once again, or maybe Wolfie, or maybe both of them, or maybe McPants, I don't know. People tried to edit the song to see if there was a way we could open the show with it. We just couldn't do it. But we loved the song so much, we decided we'll just end the week with it. We'll say goodbye to everybody for the weekend. So that's the story of that.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great way to end the show. I always feel, especially because it ends kind of the nose a lot of times, where it's a pop culture heavy show, and it's kind of like, it's just a good way to end the week.
Yeah, no, I feel so honored that he did that, and I love having it, and I don't know anybody who doesn't like it. It's great. One thing, so we're talking about ends. Well, no, actually, we can sort of wait on that. One thing I will say about picking out music for the show is that I often do revert to some of the songs that are comprised by the Great American Songbook or jazz standards or whatever you want to call these songs. And I know them very well. It's just a part of my musical universe or something. But one of the problems is caused by that is that there are often many versions of one song.
Yes.
And you want to get the right one. And so we were doing a show that included the idea of the so-called Baader-Meinhof effect, which is also sometimes called frequency bias. It's like when I bought a green Subaru, I bought it thinking, I really like this color, and I don't see this color around very much, so I like it. Well, then I immediately started seeing 20 green Subarus exactly that color on every trip I took. And it's that thing, like once somebody tells you for the first time what the Baader-Meinhof gang was, you go, oh, that's interesting. And then you'll see it mentioned 5 times in the next week or something. Yeah. So we were looking for a way to end that segment. And I had decided there's an old Mac Gordon, Harry Warren wrote the song. Mac Gordon wrote the lyrics decades ago, called "The More I See You." It's kind of a sort of a standard.
Sounds sweet already.
But it's like "The More I See You" is kind of the Baader-Meinhof effect. So I probably listened to 20 versions of this song before I found the one that was the right tempo. And then I tend to write all these literally kind of annoying instructions to Dylan or whoever else is going to have to deal with my craziness. But I realize that's obsessive, Robyn.
But in the best way. It means that you're putting so much thought into really every second of the show. Because normally, if you're preparing a show and everything, like the music is like the last thing you think about, and you're just really trying to get to the break, Yeah. But you are actually thinking about every second of your show. Right.
Well, at least we are that way anyway, yeah. I could be argued that the show is fairly chaotic at other points. But so we're going to just end this segment for a second. We're going to go out of this. This is the version that I picked up that song.
How this feeling just grows and grows. With every sigh, I become more mad about you, more lost without you. And so it goes. Can you imagine how much I love you? The more I see you as years go by, I know the only one for me can only be you. My arms won't free you, my heart won't try. My arms won't free you, my heart won't try.
My baby's gone on a trip to the moon, and she won't be back too soon. She doesn't write me and I can't sleep. All I hear from her is my baby's up in a rocket machine. Since she left, she ain't been seen. She doesn't call me and I can't sleep. All I hear from her is I wonder if it means I miss you.
So this is a song by Louis Prima. It's called Beep Beep. We do a lot of shows about UFOs. And when I discovered this song, I didn't know it. Probably came out in maybe the late 50s, early 60s. I didn't know it. I actually heard it. There was this Billy Crudup series that was very short-lived about selling real estate on the moon or something. It was like on Apple. And they used that. And I said, what is that song? And I found it. And we love it so much. And fortunately, Lily Tyson, who produces most of the UFO shows, because she's on her own journey.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
Fortunately, she loves it too. I mean, it's one of those songs, you're going to listen to it, you're going to say, never play that or again when I'm around, or I love it. We both had the same reaction to it. But, once again, it kind of sends an interesting message to the guests, like, oh, okay, that's where they're at.
It also sounds old and new at the same time.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I love stuff like that too. I'm talking to Robyn Doyon-Aitken. She's actually theoretically kind of interviewing me. We're talking about how we curate music here on the Colin McEnroe Show. So yeah, that's a great point that you made. It could be a modern novelty song.
Yeah,
I love songs like that could be from any time period.
Exactly, and during Louis' first beeps, I saw my brain kind of heard it as bleeps. So I was thinking like, oh, the thing that she's saying is, all the words that we can't say on the radio.
Yeah, no, it's what Louis does. I don't know who wrote this song. I'm sure Louis did not write it, but what he does is kind of interesting because he says, it makes me nervous and I can't sleep. All I hear from her, but then you don't actually hear beep. You hear beeping. You don't hear the word. You have to supply the rhyme yourself. So yeah. So that's an example of a song that we've loved so much that, I mean, I don't think we'll do any UFO shows ever that don't have that song in it.
Yeah. Are there songs maybe that like inspire a show where like it's not that you think of a topic and then you find a song to match with it, but you hear a song and you're like, ooh, we should do a show about, I don't know, UFOs or the smell of oranges. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think when that happens, it is maybe time to take the keys away from me.
Never.
Because, I mean, ultimately, as weird and obsessive as I am about the music has to serve the purpose of the show. So yeah, the songs that I just love and I want to play, we do those on Ask or Tell Me Anything. But no, I think, the music, I don't know, maybe McNichol or Lily would say different, but I don't think I've ever used a song as a reason to actually tackle the topic.
Well, what are some of the favorites that you save for Ask or Tell Me Anything? Do you have a list of like artists that you go back to or music that you are sort of like thinking about for that show?
Well, first of all, there are some songs that are perfect for that. I mean, an example, we don't have it here right now, or he probably has it in there, but like the song Hypothetical by Lake Street Dive. It's a great song.
Yeah.
Look, listen how fast that happened, because that wasn't necessarily in the bag. So listen to this. So, by the way, I think that song is about almost exactly where the musical sensibilities of technical producer Dylan Reyes and Colin McEnroe meet. Mm-hmm. Like, he would be in Lake Street Dive if he happened to be hanging around Berkeley or wherever they were when they were making that band. So that's a great song, and it's called Hypothetical, and obviously Ask or Tell Me Anything, a lot of hypotheticals. But what's happening now is, I'm trying to get the newest stuff on the air just for the fun of it, and so in my algorithm, I don't use Spotify, I use Tidal, but the Tidal algorithm knows that I have I'm almost unclassifiable. So they are sending me, new versions of jazz standards. They're sending me like certain kinds of hip hop. They're sending me maybe stuff like this. So the new stuff that comes in is pretty randomized, and so I can listen to it all and just kind of make decisions. And I don't know. This past Monday, Dylan and I both loved all 5 songs that I'd found, and that doesn't happen that often.
Oh, so did I, because we were dancing in our seats. Yep. Like there was it's almost like I can listen to and Ask or Tell Me Anything, and I can sort of tell what kind of mood you're in, even before you've said the first word.
I'll tell you, I mean, back to your previous question, because we actually do have a clip that we can play here that illustrates this. I'm trying to give him the hint there. That's good. He's fading that down.
Yeah,
So
get ready,
okay,
Dylan.
So sometimes, like I said about the Billy Crudup thing, and I heard the Louis Prima song. I was watching a series called The Power. We were talking about it actually on the nose, I think, and I suddenly heard this song that I'd never heard before, and it just absolutely grabbed me by the throat. And I mean, just 'cause I don't know exactly why, but it's called Wizard. It's by an artist known as Dora Jar, and we'll hear a little bit of it right here.
I'm not a shy little girl, I'm a wizard. With a pearl in my hand, with a heavy dose of adrenaline, call me a chemical man. I'm not a shy girl, I'm a wizard. Do I have to say it again? I'm like a mystic stuck on a gumball. Decorate me with the stars, yeah, I wanna fly.
So we've now used that song twice, and each time, particularly when the artist is called Dora Jar, which I didn't really pick up as Pandora's Jar. We did a show about Pandora's Jar, and the two guests, you could hear them gasp. There's something about that song, you know.
It is so cool.
Yeah.
It also has Cat Shen vibes.
Yeah, it definitely has some Cat Shen vibes. So, yeah, sometimes you hear the song and you think, I can't wait to have an excuse to use it anyway.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty good example.
Are there songs that you absolutely, no matter how much Pants campaigns for it or Lily or whatever, that you're like, no, that we are not playing that song. I hate that song. Just nope.
There probably are some examples of that, although I think for the most part, we don't do that. We had some arguments over a particular type of theme music that we were using at one point, but no, I think not. I think but the reality is, I'm probably going to lobby for some older songs from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And they're kind of used to that. I think Lily, if you gave her sodium pentothal, feels like I don't sufficiently embrace Taylor Swift. You know, I think probably we should have them come on. And I mean, all of the things that I'm saying are probably in complete violation of their understanding of. No, I'm sure they'd say, no, he's impossible and he's difficult, and we come up with really good ideas. I would say when Carolyn McCusker was here, she and I had the most interesting struggles about music. You know, she'd want to do one thing, I'd want to do another thing, and we would often compromise. You know, use some of her ideas and some of mine.
Mm-hmm. People campaign for their idea.
Or just, you know, I mean, McCusker would, like, you know, in a way that I totally respected, would dig in her heels a little bit, you know.
Well, what if you played begrudgingly?
That's a good question. I don't think much.
Okay.
Just because, you know, I mean, I do have the final call on it. And, you know, I mean, I try not to be totally... I mean, I'll say one thing, okay? There was one... This does not answer your question at all. But we were talking about, in a meeting one time, about control freaks. And I just suddenly said, am I a control freak? And there was a little pause, and Jonathan McPan said, only about the music. So, you know, I think probably there's another story to be told, you know, by the rebels up in the hills.
Indeed. Someone wrote this question down for me.
The rifles are coming soon. We'll be able to overthrow this despot. One thing I just, so we don't miss the chance to do it, and also because it's kind of fun.
Sure.
So one thing, and Dylan may want to weigh in on this too. So one of the things we try to do is the song that you end the show on is also very important. And one of the things that we've realized, one prejudice that Dylan and I both share, is we like songs that end on a beat. You know, if you think about songs from the 70s and 80s, like, we were really disappointed to find out how many Randy Newman songs end on fades, you know, and we don't like fades. It's kind of like, you couldn't think of a way to just, you know, you're just going to repeat the chorus over and over again as the volume drops off.
They gave up.
And some of the fades are really long. Like, there was one particular cut that we wanted to pick that was like 20 seconds of fade, and it was like, we can't use this.
No.
And so we had to, there was one to get out of it, and getting out of the segment is the same thing. I'll kind of more accept a fade there, but even then I'm still grumpy about it.
Yeah.
But there was one we got out of a segment. It was either this week or earlier last week. I cut it up so that there was this like one beat break in the middle of the song, and I shuffled that to the end, and I grabbed like half a verse in the beginning of the chorus just so that I could fit it together so it would end correctly, because you don't want to end on a fade out. It's too, nah.
There's a lot of stuff that, actually, McNichol just came up with a good begrudging example. We did use an AC/DC song once, and we used a ZZ Top song recently. And it wasn't that I was begrudging. I just thought I would never have dreamed I'd be using a ZZ Top song. But what Dylan just said, first of all, I didn't understand about 2/3 of it, and you probably didn't either. But
I know what a fade is.
But no, like the kind of editing that he does, very, very high level editing. He does it fast. So there's some songs we sometimes want to use, and obviously also if they have swears in them, that's like a whole other problem. So I mean, he can work around problems with songs, and you can't even tell that he's done anything, or you have to really know the song well to understand what he's done. But so we just wanted to give you an example of a song that ends on a beat, and I'm picking the funniest example I could find. It is also, but we look for these songs. We want them to end on a beat. This is very helpful because you're going to hear Prince tell you what beat, he's actually yelling at his band, but you'll hear him yell at the band what beat he wants to end on. So here we go.
Vegas on the sea. Remember that ending? On the one.
You can hear him; he's laughing too. Yeah. But this is like, this is a take that it was probably a rehearsal take that they just used on the album. But I mean, it's so hilarious to hear him do that. But that's what we want everybody to do. They don't have to end on the one, but we want everybody to end on a beat because it just sounds so crappy. Just the fade. So.
Yeah, the beat is sort of the way. If you think about the music as representative of any episode, and you're trying to communicate that, when you end on a beat, there's a certain kind of energy, and it's sort of sometimes a way. To kind of wink at the audience a little bit. And I feel like that is sort of the job of any music that you pick for a show. Sometimes it's meant to just kind of wink at them and be like, this is for you.
That's really well put. So we're going to end this segment. I mean, one thing people sometimes probably do wonder is, okay, so I'm 70. That means I was born in 1954. An awful lot of the songs that I do pick were recorded before I was born. And one reason I picked them is there's a reason they've lasted this long. Yeah. And so Jennifer LaRue was producing for us. She did a show on romance novels. And I don't know if we opened the show with this or not, but I definitely thought, I think we opened with this song. And because... in a way that, I mean, I know there are romantic songs being written every day, and I'm as beguiled by them as anybody else. But we'll just end this segment with Ella, who, of course, always sings everything perfectly.
In the moonlight, do you mean that I will fall in love perchance? Isn't it romantic? Isn't it romance?
All right, we're back. It's time to say some thank yous, starting with the person I keep talking about, Dylan Reyes, our technical producer, who collaborates with me on an awful lot of the music that we use. This show is produced by Jonathan McPants, and then I'm so fortunate to have here, as I say, one of my favorite people to be on the air with, Robyn Doyon-Aitken. He's been sort of asking me questions about all this. This song you're hearing right now is something Dylan picked out. This is another thing we've added. This is called Maestro's Choice, where coming into the final segment, Dylan sometimes will just suddenly surprise me with a piece of music, which I really enjoy happening. But anyway, the floor is yours, Rob.
Well, one thing I would like listeners to know, and they'll have a chance to see this in the coming weeks, is that, and they might not know this about you, Colin, but one of the fun things to be doing as an observer of the show is kind of watching you respond to the music in real time. Like, people may not know, even if the topic is something kind of serious or whatever, you are still always moving along to the music when it plays, and it's a real joy to watch.
Well, that's nice to hear.
I have to also say that I'm going to... So I don't think Colin knew when we first moved upstairs to this beautiful fifth floor studio with this beautiful table that is wrapped in saran wrap and none of us are allowed to touch, that he sings before and after every segment. Before the show, he'll sing maybe the song I use for the billboard, maybe a song that he's using in the show, maybe a just entirely different song at all. He'll just be singing the whole time and talking seemingly to no one about something.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't realize that he was keeping the mic open while I was doing that. And yeah, that it is true. And Meg Dalton, our other boss, said that she knows when I'm in the building because she can hear me singing as I get off the elevator. So I'm apparently really annoying that way.
Yes.
One thing I wanted to say a little bit here is, like, we're really, really happy when we think of a song that, like, so I'll back up and say, when producers first start working with me and if we're doing a show about, like, I don't know, romance novels, they think what they should do is find 5 songs that have romance in the title.
Yeah.
Which is great. That's fine, but it's not really, we don't want to be too on the nose. We might have Ella singing Isn't It Romantic, but we all want to do some other stuff. And sometimes somebody thinks of just the perfect thing. We did a show about Larry David and cringe comedy, and there's a Joel Solbiel song called The Guy Who Doesn't Get It, and it's just terrific. It just kind of encapsulates, she's describing a young Larry David in the song. And Lily Tyson was producing a show. You remember there was kind of a controversy about gas stoves a couple of years ago,
yes,
where they're really bad for the environment. So we did a show about that, and Lily Tyson, who claims not to know any music except for Taylor Swift, and was brought up in Barkhamsted, where they didn't have electricity and stuff like that. So, you could, but she came up with Ring of Fire, the Johnny Cash song, Ring of Fire, gas stove. I just thought that was genius.
Yes.
And so we were doing a show, McPants was doing a show about brutalism. Do we have this clip here? Do we have the clip? And I think we grabbed this song. Okay, so we're doing a show about brutalism, and he had a list of songs that he thought. And one of them, I just thought, this is the smartest thing ever. Brutalism, we should say, is a style of architecture that doesn't rely on ornamentation and relies kind of on these kind of bare shapes. That's probably not a very good description, but here's the song that he suggested.
I used to be a renegade. I used to fool around, but I couldn't take punishment and had to settle down. Now I'm playing it real estate, and yes, I cut my hair. You might think I'm crazy, but I don't even care, 'cause I can tell what's going on. It's hip to be square.
Come on now.
Yep.
That's really smart. When one of the producers suggests something like that, I just type genius in purple letters right next to the thing. And what a genius pick that was. I wouldn't have thought of that in a million years.
Exactly. I think that's like it's kind of a game. From a producer's perspective, it's kind of a game, because when we're in our meetings and stuff, you might be around a table of 5 other people, and they're all so brilliant. It's really hard to impress each other. But when you pull a song out of your pocket that is the perfect one for that segment, my hat is off to you, Jonathan McNichol.
Yeah, it really was just a fabulous choice. Yeah. The other thing that we struggle with a little bit is there are sort of songs that can be a little bit too on the nose or too obvious a choice.
Yes.
So we did a show recently about cultural depictions of the end of the world. And it was based on this one really interesting book that we had the author on. And so the question becomes, do you play the REM song? Or is it's the end of the world as we know it? Or is that just so obvious that you don't do it? And I was kind of struggling with that because I'm thinking, if this guy goes on 5 other shows and they use music, they're all going to play that song. And there are lots of other songs about the end of the world. In fact, Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga had one last year, won a Grammy. And so we were kind of, so anyway, one of the things I do in that situation, I'll look for kind of a weird cover. Like I don't want to play the REM song here, but the song itself does really have something to say. So, and it turns out there were like 20 covers of this, including, we didn't use this one, but there was a kind of sampled version called The End of the World as They Know It. And it was done by a black artist who was clearly saying this, like white people think they know what the end of the world is, but they're talking about the end of their world probably a little bit. I thought that was a very brilliant take. Didn't really work there, but I found one by a group called Night Game, and here it comes.
That's great, it starts with an earthquake. Birds and snakes and airplanes. And Lenny Bruce is not afraid. Okay, eye of a hurricane, listen to yourself churn. World serves its own needs, don't misserve your own needs. Speed it up a notch, speed, grunt, no strength. The ladder starts to clatter with the fear of height. Down height, wire and a fire represent the 7 games. And a government for hire in a combat site. Laughter wasn't coming in a hurry with the furies breathing down.
I think even the guest said, where did you get that cover?
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah. So that's another option we have.
Mm-hmm. Has it always, in my experience, just in the last year or so working on the show, more people write us and call us and all that kind of stuff and ask, what song was that? I want to get it. Like, is that a new thing that happens? Has it always, or is it just sort of something that listeners are interested in now?
It happens sporadically. It also makes me happy when they do that because and there's an argument for us somewhere publishing the song list.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll put it up on Facebook or something. But yeah, that means that they were paying attention and they want to know what song that was. Or even like the songs we used on Monday, the one that I opened the show with, which was, I think, by Hooray for the Riff Raff or something like that, or whatever it's called. It was a song that I had never heard before. I didn't know the group. But somebody wrote to me right away and said, that song made my day. I'm going to, start listening to that song. That makes me really happy if you introduce a new song to people. And yeah, we should probably do a better job of telling people what it is they're hearing.
Yeah. Well, I would appreciate a link to that last one, Dylan.
Yeah. That, by the way, was It's the End of the World as We Know It, and I Feel Fine by Night Game. So we're almost out of time here. Look over there at that clock. We're almost out of time.
Oh, yeah.
Is there one more thing you wanted to ask about?
Well, I just wonder, is there a song or two that just came, out of a show, you're planning for a show that's just like really special and stayed with you and something that you just keep listening to?
Well, I think, some of the ones we played here today, the Dora Jar Wizard song is something that is just, it's not, I put them on playlists and stuff like that, but I'll need that song on a certain day and I'll just pull it up and call it up. I'm kind of busy. I don't have as much time as I probably should for just sitting there and listening and enjoying. But yeah, some of these songs are just going to be beep, beep. It's not, you wouldn't want to fall asleep listening to that. But these songs are important and they're, they kind of are the soundtrack of the show. And since I have no life, they're also the soundtrack of my life. These are, I don't know how to say it, but, songs are so incredibly powerful to me anyway, and I think they are to most people. And we're working right now on a show about Burt Bacharach and Dionne Warwick. We're going to do it live at Watkinson, tape the show live there. And I've just got Bacharach just humming in my head all day long now, which is not a bad condition to find yourself in.
Not at all.
So Robyn Doyon-Aitken, thank you so much. I know you have a busy day, so thank you for giving me an hour of it to have this little conversation.
Anytime, Colin.
I should say, this is a Porter Wagner song that I've always loved. And I used to sing it as I walked out of the building on Friday afternoons. And so we'll let him finish up the show. Thanks once again to Dylan Reyes and Jonathan McPants. They did a lot of work on this.
Between us and this table, all those years, all those dreams, all those nights. Yes, without me saying, I still love you. But
but I've enjoyed as much of this as I can stand.
There's so much more between us than this table